What is up, y'all? And welcome back to episode 11 of That's No Moon Pod. In this episode, we actually have a lot of stuff that I really wanted to get into. Today, James Gunn finally revealed the first chapter of his upcoming DCU universe. We got a lot of new movies announced, TV shows. So I kind of want to give my thoughts on all those upcoming future projects that were just announced. Super stoked for all those. I really want to get into episode 3 of The Last of Us from this past weekend. An amazing episode. And I kind of want to get into a little bit, if we have time, Jedi Survivor, the upcoming Star Wars game from Respawn and EA, got delayed a little month, I believe. So instead of coming out on March, it's going to be coming out in late April now. So if we have time, I'll kind of get into my thoughts on that, which shouldn't take too long. I guess I'll start off with The Last of Us. Episode 3 dropped this past Sunday. And I saw the post that Nick Offerman had put on his social media, kind of showing that this was going to be his featured episode. And again, if you haven't been watching my videos, I've said I've never played The Last of Us video games, so I don't know any plot points, story points at all. I'm going into this show completely fresh, and whatever happens, I don't know how accurate it is to the games or not. But this past episode was awesome. I think it was probably my favorite episode so far. It was about an hour and a half long. And, it starts off with Joel and Ellie, and they're still walking around, and you're kind of starting to see Joel lighten up a little bit with Ellie a little bit. You see him kind of eating his food and tosses it over to her so she could have some too. Still having those father instincts and kind of doing his best to protect her now that Tess is gone, and they kind of have a conversation to where Ellie's telling Joel pretty much, don't blame me for what just happened. You chose to go on this mission and have me tag along with you, so nothing here is my fault. You chose this, and this is all you. And he kind of nods his head and accepts it and understands where she's coming from. Then we only see a little bit of them, and then it goes straight into Nick Offerman, who's playing Bill. And it's always funny seeing Nick Offerman, just the way he naturally is. He just has a way of making you laugh just by the facial expressions he makes. He's just one of those actors that just has one of those gifts of kind of just putting a smile on your face when he's on screen. And again, I never played the game, so I didn't know what to expect really from his character, Bill. and it's cool seeing him. He's kind of like he's the guy, he's the prepper who's stayed behind while everyone else got shipped off with the government, and he's going around his town and picking up supplies and, just kind of booby trapping his little area of his town. And he's the only one left, so he's kind of just out there living on his own comfortably, or as comfortably as possible at this point. You could tell he's a smart guy and knows what he's doing. Then here comes the kind of part of the story where it just kind of changes Bill's life completely, where we meet Frank, and Frank's in a ditch, and Bill's kind of contemplating whether or not to help him out or just kind of send him off on his way. But you could tell he's got a little soft spot for this guy for whatever reason, and he decides to let him in his house and let him use the shower and cook him a nice meal. And the whole time Bill and Frank are in there, you could tell Bill has his guard up naturally. And just away from TV shows and movies and all that, you're kind of like, you don't really know what to expect from what's to come. Naturally, while I was watching this, I was just kind of waiting for Frank to maybe get a jump on Bill when he's vulnerable, and maybe, like, I don't know, take him out and, take over Bill's whole fort and household that he's got. But it completely takes a different route, and turns out Bill and Frank have a thing for each other, and Bill kind of just lets himself open up to Frank, and they end up falling in love and living their years together. We get a few time jumps. It seemed like they were together for at least 13 years, and throughout those years they grow old together. They're fixing up their town. They're still kind of doing their thing and surviving together. And it was cool to see. There was sort of like a flashback scene. I believe it was from 2010 or 2000. I think it was 2010, where Bill and Frank are eating dinner with Joel and Tess outside, and Bill, he has his guard up with Joel, or he's just kind of having the gun pointed at him while they're at dinner, and Joel's telling him, you gotta quit pointing that gun at me, and he's kind of warning him that, there's gonna be people coming here, they're gonna try to take over the town while y'all are asleep at night, and he's just kind of giving him his own take on what's to come. And but you could tell there's like a respect between them, which was nice. They did a good job. The makeup design on Joel, and making him from looking like a little salt and pepper from where we see him now to those flashbacks, or make him look younger again, and seeing Bill and Frank grow old, and to where we eventually end up seeing them, to where how Frank's not doing too good, and he kind of wants to call it quits. And Bill is having to understand this and seeing where this is going, and he decides to take it upon himself to go out with him together, and just seeing their relationship and their chemistry together on screen was um, definitely, I think, in my opinion, um, an Emmy Award nominated at least performance from both the actors. While I was watching this episode, I was thinking to myself to where I was like, I highly doubt that the video game was in the same kind of vein as this story of the episode. Um, just because they had such a long time to kind of go into Bill and Frank's relationship, to where I was like, um, they had to have done some kind of, change to these characters' story for this episode. And it turns out I guess I was right, but I think for the most part, people were kind of accepting of this story point over whatever was told in the video game. It just kind of gives their characters that much more of a layer between them, and I think it really worked well on screen. Like I said, both of the performances were great. Easily my favorite episode so far. I think they both deserve Emmy talks for next year for sure. And yeah, the episode kind of goes out with Joel and Ellie finding Bill and Frank's town, and they walk into the house and kind of seeing that they're not around, and they find a note that Bill had left them, and they're putting all the pieces together. And again, you really get to see Joel kind of open up more to Ellie, because from what Bill says in the note, he says you got to protect Tess, and Joel knows that he failed at doing that. He failed at protecting his daughter, but Bill knows that him and Joel are on this earth to be protectors, and to be there for the ones that they care about the most. And Joel kind of accepts his losses, and now realizes that Ellie is the main mission, and now I think he'll from now on do whatever it takes to protect her, because that's what Bill would want, that's what Tess would want, and I think that's what his daughter would have wanted as well. And yeah, they had some cool interactions together. Finally able to kind of clean up, and Ellie finally gets a strap without telling Joel and puts it in her bag for safekeeping just in case. And they finally get the truck that they needed to go and find Joel's brother. And yeah, just the way this episode was shot, the set designs and everything about it, it was just a great piece of television. Definitely, if you're not watching the show, I think there's no doubt at this point it just got renewed for a second season before this episode even aired. So I think the producers and all that have a lot of confidence in it, and the show looks like it's on its way to being one of the best shows of the year already to start off 2023. And yeah, from there, I really want to jump in to the biggest news to drop this year easily already was the highly anticipated DCU slate from James Gunn. We've all been waiting to see what kind of the next phase of the DC universe is going to be. After kind of so much drama that's been following DC and all the characters and the filmmakers that were, tied in with this universe these past few years has been crazy. DC's always kind of been the ugly stepchild to Marvel, in terms of success, movie wise and all that. But it seemed like the past, couple years, they had a couple wins in between here and there, but it just never seemed quite right. And then here comes James Gunn to save the day. And I just want to go over kind of what he has announced so far, at least, from what he says, that these projects are the first chapter in what's to come from his DCU universe. But I'm sure there's still going to be a lot more announcements throughout the year. But some of the ones I really want to talk about were, he announced a few movies and a few TV shows, and he said that because we still have Shazam 2 to come out this year, which is, I believe, next month in March. And he says that will lead into The Flash, which comes out this summer. And the Flash movie is supposed to kind of reset everything, kind of Flashpoint style from the comics. And that's going to kind of get the ball rolling on what James Gunn has planned for his upcoming projects. And we still have Blue Beetle to come out this year too, which is kind of like its own thing, I guess. And then Aquaman 2 will finish out the year, and that will be kind of the last thing that we get that's not fully involved, I guess, with James Gunn's DC universe. And from what is to expect from James Gunn, from what I saw, it seemed like we were getting a couple TV shows first, and we got Creature Commandos, which I honestly have no idea anything about any of those characters. It looks cool though, from what he said. They're kind of, I don't know, I hope they kind of get like the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of treatment, and where no one really knows who these characters are, but James Gunn just kind of has that way with these characters like that, to where he could kind of really just make them shine on their own and kind of make them become into fan favorites. But I believe it's going to be an animated show from what I saw, Creature Commandos. And then Waller is next, which is going to be a Amanda Waller TV series with Viola Davis still coming back, which is kind of interesting to see, I guess, because it seems like everyone else who was in a DC film or TV show prior to this was kind of getting the boot, and they're going to kind of start fresh from everything. But they're keeping Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. It said it was kind of going to be a Peacemaker tie-in, which I hope there's still plans to do a season 2 of the Peacemaker show with John Cena. That was easily one of my favorite shows. While it was out, I couldn't wait for each episode. And I hope James Gunn can kind of do his thing to kind of salvage those characters and to kind of continue it from where it left off. Because from what I understand, um, everything's gonna be connected, but they're still gonna be having that multiverse style to where not everything has to necessarily tie in, I guess, where there could be these stories like the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix and Matt Reeves' Batman, to where they don't all have to kind of tie into these stories that James Gunn is trying to tell. But yeah, those were the first two things I believe is supposed to come out. Then they get into the heavy stuff with the first movie coming out in 2025, Superman Legacy. And it's supposed to kind of tell story of Superman kind of dealing with his Kryptonian powers lifestyle while still adjusting his life, being, just a regular person here on Earth. No Henry Cavill, as we all know. And from what I can understand, I guess, everyone still thinks that Henry Cavill should be the guy to be Superman. But the feeling I get from the story synopsis, from what James Gunn was saying of this Superman Legacy movie, it seems like it's just going to be a young Superman, probably, early to mid 20s, I bet. Probably no older than 30. So if that's the case, I understand, Henry Cavill just doesn't fit the part for what story James Gunn's trying to tell here. I have no idea who I would want to play Superman. I'm sure James Gunn has his ideas, his eyes set on a few actors to, step in and take over the role, but man, that's such a heavy role to take on, and so hopefully they knock it out of the park with that one, which I think they will. I think James Gunn has it on lock. We have another movie, The Brave and the Bold, which is a Batman and Robin tale. And this Robin is Damian Wayne, which is Batman's son from the comics. And what I like what James Gunn is doing, and he's not taking, kind of nitpicking old classic tales from comics. He's taking stories from like kind of modern comic book stories and implementing them into live action, which is cool. Instead of kind of just taking this and adding it to the movie or whatever, he's seeing what works, and he has an idea of what he thinks would make a good movie. And this kind of father-son Batman story, I think, is definitely a different type of Batman movie that we've gotten ever. And yeah, Damian Wayne is a cool Robin. I wonder if he'll get into Talia al Ghul and her relationship with Batman, and maybe they just have that divorced type of couple dynamic between them, and Batman is trying to win over Damian and be the father that he never was to him. And I think that movie could be pretty cool if they do it right. So I'm excited for that one. They got a Superman Legacy, The Brave and the Bold, which is Batman and Robin. They have a Swamp Thing movie coming out, which is supposed to be a horror movie, like a scary type, different take on a comic book character, at least, and the mainstream. Um, I think Swamp Thing is a cool character, and if they go full on horror with it, I think it would be a really cool story to where you could kind of, if you just go all out with it, you could kind of make another hit horror character. So not just comic book wise, but in the horror genre as well. We're getting a Supergirl movie as well. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Which supposedly, I guess, is like a different take on Supergirl, where she's kind of jaded and she's like grown up on a different Kryptonian world, kind of, or seeing everyone around her die, and she's kind of dealing with all that kind of trauma. And again, I guess this was like a more modern story from comic book that James Gunn is implementing, which is cool. We're getting a Booster Gold TV show, which I think a lot of DC fans are super excited about. Everyone knows who Booster Gold is in DC. I'm wondering who James Gunn is going to get to play Booster Gold, because he's kind of like he's got to be the funny guy, the kind of the charming, kind of has like that charisma to him. And I think James Gunn already has his eyes set on someone that we don't know yet, but I think he already has an idea who he wants to play Booster Gold. And one of the other ones I wanted to talk about was the Lanterns, the Green Lanterns TV show that we're getting. It's supposed to have like kind of like a True Detective type feel to it, from what he said. Instead of kind of like what you expect, kind of like space opera from the Green Lanterns. I guess the Green Lanterns are gonna be kind of like the authority from space, I guess, but kind of keeping the show a little more grounded, I guess. I like the way that sounds. Sounds a lot different from what I would expect the Green Lantern TV show to kind of be about. But, if they do it right, I think finally we'll be able to get some good Green Lantern content, because I think that's kind of been one of the things that fans have been wanting for forever, just to kind of finally see just a good Green Lantern story told live action, so I'm super excited for that. We got a show coming out called Paradise Lost, and it's kind of like a prequel to Wonder Woman, to where it kind of just shows where she came from, or at least her people and her kind of Amazonian sisters are from. And James Gunn kind of mentioned that it'll kind of have that Game of Thrones type feel to it, which would be super dope to see. All these projects got me super stoked. We've all been waiting for these to kind of see some kind of announcement, and finally we're getting it. No cast or anything was announced, just these name titles, but I think, this was still good enough to kind of satisfy all the DC comic book fans out there, and getting them excited, and, just have something to look forward to, after these slate of movies that we're going to get this year. I think Shazam 2 will be good, from what I've been hearing from the people I watch on YouTube and James Gunn himself even said that the Flash movie is supposed to be awesome. And I think that movie's going to be crazy with all the, just the Flashpoint kind of style of story it's going to tell on live action, and just seeing all the crazy things that they could do with that. And then Aquaman 2 to end the year. And Blue Beetle before that. I think Blue Beetle kind of gets slept on. I think that movie should be pretty cool as well. Blue Beetle's one of my favorite DC characters for sure. And yeah, I'm super stoked. All this planning and care and development got me hella jealous, being a super Star Wars fan, and just seeing how James Gunn is handling this property just makes me wish that, someone would step in to kind of do what James Gunn is doing and what Kevin Feige has done for Marvel, and kind of implement all this kind of technique and planning into Star Wars to, really kind of give Star Wars fans this kind of hype and, this care to detail and planning, because right now Star Wars is losing when it comes to all that, especially after this announcement from James Gunn. All this kind of care and planning that goes into these upcoming projects that these producers are implementing to their IP is just like, it's just like, Lucasfilm, what are you doing, right? Disney, what are you doing with Star Wars? Like, we still don't know anything. Star Wars Celebration is coming up, so hopefully they kind of have some big reveals to come at that, because otherwise it's just like Marvel's gonna keep killing it, and then DC's right on their tail now with all these things set to come up. It's a good time to be a nerd. It's a good time to be a comic book fan, and yeah, I can't wait for everything that's to come in the future. But speaking of Star Wars, I'll kind of end it with this. Jedi Survivor, the upcoming video game from Respawn and EA, Cal Kestis, was supposed to come out in March 17th, I believe, and it's gotten pushed back to the end of April, which is only a month or so delay. From what they said, they want to just continue kind of polishing up the game and making sure there's no bugs or, this or that, any problems for launch. I don't know kind of what more they could really do to the game. I think at this point the game is completely done. I think it's a smart move still, though, to, kind of really make sure that the game isn't buggy at launch. That would really suck for them to give us a game that's just kind of unplayable from the jump, especially with, again, just like I was saying with Star Wars, how everything's kind of been these past several years, to where it's like, promises for some kind of new thing to love, and it kind of just turns out to be not. And I think it's smart of them to, make sure that everything's working good, and to give the fans a fun experience, and just give them the game that we've all been waiting for. I saw a Star Wars Theory post on his Instagram, and it seemed like he was upset about just the delay, and Uh, he was kind of just saying that a game that's set to come out this soon can't really be, fixed as much as what they're kind of implying. Um, he's pretty much just saying that the game being delayed is kind of more of a marketing ploy, I guess, because we're still literally at the beginning of the Bad Batch, um, 16 episodes of the Bad Batch, and I think we've only gotten, was it like 4 episodes or 5 now, I guess. And then we're gonna get The Mandalorian season 3 at the beginning of March, and Mandalorian will be going on, and then right in the middle of it, Jedi Survivor was supposed to come out. So either there's kind of some story points in there that they don't want to interfere with the Mandalorian, or they just don't want to kind of have, too many things going on at once, Star Wars wise, So I see where he was coming from, kind of, where, you know, they're kind of looking out for themselves. They don't want the Mandalorian to kind of gloss over any kind of sales that they might get for the game. So they're kind of just playing it safe and, just delaying it a little over a month to kind of, get its full potential sales wise, and also hopefully making it as well run of a game as possible. But that kind of bummed me out still. I was already getting ready get my hands on the game, and then it says it's not until April. So, I mean, it's only a month or so, but I mean, it still kind of bummed me out. But hey, I mean, if they can make it bug free, I'm cool with it. It's not that long of a wait. But yeah, that was kind of a little nugget of news that came out today. James Gunn and his DC news really took over the internet today, which is understandable. But yeah, I guess kind of covered everything I wanted to talk about. Thankfully, a lot of news dropped. So I really wanted to get on here and give my thoughts on the pod. I want to thank everyone that tunes in and listens to this. I don't know if there's any weekly listeners yet at this point, but I'm going to keep doing my thing on here and getting one of these out every week. And sometimes I'll be talking about stuff like this. Other times I'll kind of be going into some different subjects, topics, whatever's kind of on my mind. I kind of want to, get it all out instead of just random thoughts just constantly sitting in my brain and not being able to kind of express myself in the way that I want to sometimes. And I think a lot of people have a lot of things to say, and they just choose not to say it, or don't feel comfortable to say it to anyone. And I kind of want to use this as a way to get it all out and talk about whatever's on my mind at the time. So I hope y'all stick around and enjoy the ride with me, and just kind of see where it takes us. I've been gaming a lot on Twitch, live streaming. Right now I've been playing the Guardians of the Galaxy video game, and I'm almost done with that playthrough. If you haven't played the Guardians of the Galaxy video game yet, I highly recommend it. Easily one of the funnest stories that I've played in a long time on a video game. I also just bought Gotham Knights, and I kind of just started that story, and I really want to see where it goes. I think the game's pretty good so far. And yeah, follow me on Twitch at Admire My Moonsault. I try to stream on there at least 4 times a week. So yeah, I've been hopping on there a lot more consistently for sure. Follow me on Instagram at Admire My Moonsault. If you like comic books, I post one on there every day from the new releases every week. If you like comics or want to get into comics, I post one on there every day. So if you want to jump in to a new story that you may not have heard about yet, I got you. So yeah, follow me on there as well. Like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'm gonna keep doing my thing on here, bringing y'all at least one show a week. Thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate whoever's listening to this. And yeah, I hope you all have a great rest of y'all's week. Y'all stay safe, and I'll catch y'all on the flip. Peace.